everyone, thanks for coming through to my video today. Today we're going to paint this lovely drawing of a wreath. There is a separate video for this to show you how to draw it so that you can do your own version, or you can get the downloadable by joining my channel for a very small fee. All the downloadables I ever use, all of the step-by-step tutorial sheets that I use are there for that small fee per month, so you can then trace if you prefer rather than hand drawing. It's up to you. Okay, today I have traced it because I want it to be exactly the same for you while I teach you. So today we're going to use watercolour. So make sure you've got some nice fine detail brushes, whatever you have, whatever you can get your hands on. The smaller the better, because there's going to be a lot of fine detail in here. You'll need watercolour paints, doesn't matter what they are, but get some greens ready. These are literally just the colours I've taken straight from the pans. Some of them I may have mixed a bit. So I've gone for greens for the leaves, and I've gone for reds and purples for when I do the baubles. And that's all I feel at the moment I need, but obviously as I go along I might change my mind. So you'll get used to me and my videos. I don't plan. I like to just do it in front of you and think as I go, because that's how I think art should be. It's a creative process and you think as you go along. I don't like to plan too much. I'm just going to have a drink of water, make sure you're hydrating. So you'll obviously also need some water. You'll need some watercolour paper, and if you haven't got them, don't worry, it doesn't matter. These are just an extra. I've got some greens and reds in watercolour pencils that I might do some fine detail in at the end, but I'm not sure if I do, but I've got them ready just in case. So let's get started. I'm going to first of all go for I don't think I want that brush. I'm going to go for this brush. It's quite small and it is a round, but I'm going to start off just doing a fine layer of green. Don't forget we can always go over, so as long as we make the first layer quite cool. Oh, I haven't done what I should, which I always do on watercolours, and that's I like to use a kneadable eraser. So this is a kneadable eraser, and I just like to push back the pencil a bit. I still want to see it. I've got to smudge the green now. I still want to see it, but I just don't want those really hard defined pencil marks. So just do that to start with. And I realised as I put the paint down, I was like, oh, you're going to see all those pencil marks. That's going to look awful. And what you can do with watercolour, which I like as well sometimes, is to go over it with a liner pen as well if you feel there's not as much definition as you'd like. Right, so I'm going in. How is everyone, by the way? Please chat to me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm just going in with a very fine mixture of the greens, varying greens. I want to dip in and out with all of them. The darker ones, maybe, if they're hidden behind others. And I'm literally, that's all I'm doing today, is I'm filling in the drawing. So we'll do one layer first, and then we can come back and think what needs changing. So I've got, that's a nice sort of wintry green. It looks quite dark on the screen, and well, it is quite dark, but it's nice to have that variation. And I'm literally just going to dot around. I think I'll use one colour at a time now, and just go and dot around, filling in where some of those leaves are. So I'm using the point of my brush for the point of the leaf, and then I'm dragging the little bit of paint that I have towards the base of the leaf. Okay, and I'm just literally filling in. I'm not worrying about detail at the moment. I just want to get a first layer done. So we're just going to go around and fill in using that point, dotting about, and then we can fill in with the other greens as well as we go along. Maybe group some together. You don't want it perfectly dotted about, separated wise. You know, you want to make sure that it's looking natural, and you'll have some leaves of the same colour kind of bunched together in real life. So I'm going to do that. Quite excited. I'm going on the 3rd of December. I'm going to go to a wreath making class, Christmas wreath making, so I'm looking forward to that. I have never done it before, but it looks good fun. So hopefully you can see on everything on the camera there okay. And as you can see, watercolour dries so quickly. So by the time we've gone around with one colour, we can then start going around and filling in with another colour. It's coming on nice. As you can see, it's like an olive green. I mean, when I first had that first bit, it was very dark. So I've kind of tried to water it down a bit. Need to find it. Here we are. I do want to have some bits darker though, so I'm going to add some more. You just about see in the corner there. I'm just adding some more paint just to get it a bit darker again. Because even within the one colour, you can create depth, and like if you don't have very many colours, the amount of water you add will change its value from like a dark version of that colour to a lighter version. So you can create lots of different shades just from one colour. So if you don't have a range, like I say, if you don't have a big range of colours, it's all good, because you can adapt that one colour you have. Okay, so let's go, I think, to the top. I'm trying not to turn it, but what I do suggest when you're doing it is to turn it. I'm trying to do it so that you can see, but actually I'm finding it a bit uncomfortable, so I'm going to turn it. So do the same if you're finding your hands getting uncomfortable. I like to kind of drag over from left to right, so that's most comfortable for me. So these activities that I do, they you know, they are art for fun. They are for mindfulness, something to do at the end of the day to unwind. They are for activities maybe that you just want to do in your sketchbook. If you've bought a sketchbook and you don't know what to put in it, where do I start? Well, that's what my videos are for. They're really nice activities that you can just do in one sitting, or however much you want to break them up. You can come back to it. Oh, silly me, I've just put my hand in the pink. We'll have to ignore that. We could do a pink background. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So, coming round with the green, I'm still filling in. So I'll stop talking and you can just watch for a bit. I do suggest you put music on, something nice and relaxing while you're doing this. Well, depends what mood you're in. I just find to get the best out of art and your time with art, something nice and relaxing. Sometimes, say if I'm doing like acrylic, I quite like something nice and upbeat. Watercolour to me is more a mindfulness, slow kind of feel. Okay, so I'm happy enough with that, the amount of that colour I've got. I'm going to go back to the other greens that I had, and now I'm going to start to add in some more leaf shapes, and this will help to bring it to life a bit more. We'll get that variation in. I think I'm going to put some, just trying out, I want to darken that a bit, maybe make it a bit more real. I'm just going to add some yellow ochre. That's nice. Okay, so all I did then was just add some yellow ochre, just because I felt like the green was a bit not very realistic. I might add some more water to it now, because that's quite dark. Oh, what's happened there? That's not the green I was just using. Oh well, let's fill that in. Strange. I don't know what happened there. That's certainly not what I was just using. There we go. That's what I was just using. I must have accidentally gone into the wrong, you'll see on screen, I probably went into the wrong part of my palette. Oh my gosh, it's just, if you've seen it, like the screen go a bit dark, it's just started raining very, very hard. I'm in the UK, as you can probably tell from my accent, if you are from out of the UK, and it's November, so it's starting to feel cold and wet and miserable. it's the season where if you're going to get that SAD, the sad winter depression thing, it tends to be around this month if you're prone to it. I've known someone in the past that always used to get November wobbles, needed to go and get some sun and be away. Okay, they're coming on. So you can see now by adding in the different greens, it really does give it a nice variation, but try not to get your hand in the paint like me and stick it on there. Luckily I can sort of cut round it if I want to. Oh dear, can you hear that? I don't know if the mic's picking it up. Wow, it's like torrential out there. I live right by the coast, so it's very windy today, and my palm trees are literally flying about all over the place. And the cats are annoyed. They're being annoying because they can't get out. They do not like wind and rain. Anyway, I'll stop talking and you can watch, and I'll try and actually make sure that the picture's in screen. That'd be useful, wouldn't it? So I meant to say that I'm starting on the leaves first, then the baubles and the berries. Let's kind of give these a bit more shape. There we are. And I will come in with some of that bright green. It actually worked quite well. Nice. Christmassy vibes. So you don't need to follow along with exactly how I'm doing it. Use what greens you have and just work your way around in whatever fashion you like. And also, like, if you feel like then I couldn't find the leaf, it doesn't really matter as long as you are giving the essence of a leaf. Right. Put that one in there. Let's put this in here. And if there are bits that don't look like they're complete leaves, it's fine, just fill it in with the green, give it some kind of background. There's a little one there. Now I am going to move my palette away a little bit because that's part of the problem, is that I don't have enough space to move now that you've seen the colours. So I'm just dipping in and out of the colours. I'm actually looking at the screen as well, because sometimes when you look at it on the screen you can really see where you need to go or where you've missed, and yeah, I just find that really helpful. So something else you can do, obviously you're not going to be recording yours on a screen. What I can recommend you do, now I'm just going back into some of those leaves with these little lines just to give a bit of definition. I was going to use pencil for that, but actually don't have to. I can just go in and draw those really, really little lines. If I show you, let's zoom in. Oh, where's my zoom gone? There we go. Let's zoom you in. Hopefully you can see that okay. So I'm literally just using the point and just drawing some kind of a line down the middle. And that just gives us a bit of definition. We can kind of curve it, and then it shows where the curves are. Anyway, what I was saying before I started doing that, take a photo. As you go along, take a photo, then look at the photo of your painting. I know it sounds weird, but it works. Just have a look back on it and think, oh, you'll see things, you will, I promise you, you'll see things that you think, oh, I did not see that as I was painting it. Now I'm going to stop drawing the leaves in a moment, and what I'm going to do, because we can fill in any gaps with green afterwards, I'm going to now do the baubles and the berries, and then I'll start to feel, I'll get a feel for the entire kind of, the entire look of the piece, and I'll know where I want to put things. So I'm coming in first of all with this light purple, because then I can add the darker purple after. So all my baubles are going to be purple. I decided that before I started painting. I don't know why, it's possibly just because I like purple, but because we've got the red berries, I didn't want to have red baubles as well, would have been too much. Oops, picked up a bit too much paint there. It's alright, it will still dry. And just let it fall really, as long as you've got it in the rough shape that you want. Just let the paint do its thing. The joy of watercolour. Just does its thing. You don't have all that control. Although the way we're painting today with small detail is we do have a bit of control. I must admit, this wreath one, I really enjoyed drawing it. It's one of the, out of all of them, I really enjoyed this one. Let me just pick up some more of that. Coming round. And remember, these aren't, we're not going for realism here. We're just enjoying it and doing whatever we want. At the end of the day, we're not going from a photo. This is just a drawing, one of my own drawings, and we can make it up. And sometimes it's nice not to, I know a lot of people paint from reference, and I actually do a lot of the time, because I find it easier to have something real to paint from. But with these step-by-step drawings, they are my own drawings. You won't get them anywhere else, so you can do what you want with them. You can just have some fun. Right, there's another bauble over here, I think. Let's put one there because it looks a bit empty there. It's just trying to make sure that there's balance in the entire design and it's making sense. So now I'm going to come in with the darker purple and just kind of scoot round the edges and just letting it go where it wants to go. And I'm going to move the paper round because I don't particularly want to see. I don't want my eyes to kind of restrict me, whereas if I turn it round, so I'm just kind of scooping the watercolour around, just to kind of give those baubles a sense of roundness. You don't need too much, otherwise it will be like a sharp difference, which is what I'm getting there. It's too much, so I'm going to have to water it down a bit more, and if you're getting that sharp difference, that's a good way of doing it, because then it will blend into the other colour and it will dry more blended. So that one was already wet, which is quite nice, so I've just dropped in the paint and it's just gone where it wants to go because it's already wet. Got a bit of a croaky throat today. There's a lot of bugs around. I mean, I was really poorly at the beginning of November for about 2 weeks with a really horrible cough cold. My eldest son, who's 16, had it first and he was really poorly. Then my youngest son had it last and he had a cold for about 3 days. So he must be very immune. Right, so we've done the baubles. I am going to dry that now because quite a lot of it's wet and I don't want to mess it up. dry enough there. So then you can start to see the baubles coming to life a bit with their two tones, their variations. Okay, coming in with the berries, and to be honest, I am literally just going to come in with this red. I've got a few reds, but at the end of the day, just want this nice strong red. Need a bit more water on that, otherwise we're not going to have any variation in shade, in value rather. And I'm literally just using the point of the brush, and you notice I haven't changed my brush yet. I'm quite happy with the size of the brush that I've got. I like the point on the end, that's nice. And so I'm just wiggling, basically just wiggling the brush around wherever I want to have a berry. There's some larger ones, there's some little ones. It's good to have that variation in size as well as shade. And although I do have the drawing down, I'm not too worried about sticking to it too much. So I am going to come in with what this sort of pinky purple one. Oh, that hadn't dried. Okay, it's just a slightly different shade of colour. There we go. It's come along nice. Just adding more water so that I can have some lighter ones, like that. I'm just working my way around wherever I feel I want to put them, to be honest. And they don't have to be perfect circles, you know, it's just giving the impression of berries. We're just mark making. And because they're watercolour, they will move. But I don't want to put down too much thick red paint, because it's a very strong colour. And if you did it without much water and just pigment, you'd have more control, but it would be a very strong red. But our eyes will pick up the red as berries, just because that's what it looks like in context to everything else. Some more here. So I'm going to dry that now. I'm going to come in with the green now, just to fill in the background, and I'm going to go in between some of those berries, just to fill in, otherwise it won't look right, you have too many gaps. At this point you don't need to worry about actual shapes of leaves and things. I think I want to put some berries there. So it's just basically filling in now. I'll put a leaf there, I'll put another one there. Just as you can see, I'm literally just putting colour down wherever I see gaps, because it will, the leaves I've already drawn will make it look like a wreath. But anything else now really is mostly, I mean, some of them I'm doing as in leaf shapes. Look, there's some around the edges that I haven't done, that I'm being careful about, but everywhere else, like around the berries, you're just filling that colour in. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the process. Don't worry about the outcome. It's going to look great anyway. Just say, you know, just say to yourself, it's going to look good, it's going to look great. The important thing is you're not judging yourself or your work, and you're enjoying it. Art is all about relaxing, not judging yourself, playing with the paint. You don't want to take the joy out of it by judging your work. So remember, you know, this is your wreath. You can have whatever colours you want. You don't have to follow me. Your baubles do not have to be purple. I think I just love purple for some reason. Okay, I wanted to just put some more berries in here, or some berry-like colour. We'll let that dry first. I am going to come in with the red straight off the ink block, because what I'm doing now is I'm just adding a really bright red spot to the cherries, just to give them that feeling of roundness and light and shade. So it's just a little dot at the bottom where there will be some darkness, and then we can come in with some light on the top. Like with these here, you know, they're all bundled together and they need that little bit of definition. But like, there are little white gaps that I haven't done, and that's fine. I quite like that look. But just go in and add more wherever you feel you'd like more. Put a bit more there. I'm just going to dry that quickly. Okay, so I'm going to come in with some of this green. This is what I call like the mid-green. So I'm just filling in any major gaps. It doesn't have to be perfect. I quite like the little white gaps, but you don't want any that are too big. So I've pretty much filled in everywhere now. So I now need to focus on detail, on a value. So it's putting in the detail and the value. And by value, I simply mean light and dark. So I'm going to pick up some green straight out off the pan, and I'm going to start just adding in some darker colour where I want it, wherever I feel it needs a little bit of shadow. Want that to be too watery. It's kind of watery now. When I want to be purposeful with the colour, I'm trying to just use it straight out of the block with a tiny bit of water and not too much. So wherever I think there might be a bit of shade, I'm just going in with that darker colour and filling in basically wherever I think it should be. So you can see automatically it's given those leaves that value from light to dark, and it's given it more interest. So I'm going to keep doing that for a bit and I'll be quiet. Oops, too wet. Apologies, my phone's pinging away in the background. It's probably work stuff. Okay. So now I'm going in and I'm just putting some of the lines on the leaves to give it a bit of definition. Now you can do that with pencil. And I don't think you need too much of it either. You don't need too much detail on this. I mean, I always think with watercolours the whole point is that it kind of does its own thing. It doesn't need too much detail. I do think it needs some. So I might now go over to my coloured pencil and my gel roll. So these are watercolour pencils, but you can, what I was going to say is you can just use normal coloured pencils. I'm just going to go in now and put a little bit more definition of darkness on those baubles where they are darker. Sorry, obviously somebody really wants to talk to me. So I'm coming round all of my baubles and I'm just coming around and doing another layer on that underside, and then you can see that really starts to give the impression of shiny baubles because we're putting the dark value in, which makes the lighter value come out even more. But make sure it's where there will be shadow, so underneath. It won't make any sense if it's on top because that will be where the light's hitting it. So it really needs to, you need to think carefully about putting the darker parts at the bottom, and then that will help with the value. Coming in with it a bit darker still on all of them. So even those baubles, we've come in with like 3-4 layers, but it makes the difference. It really does, because you see now to how it was just a flat colour before, and now they are really sticking out, they're really shiny. So need to let that dry. Let's give it a dry. Just coming in with a little bit more red now that I can see where the baubles are more clearly, where the leaves are. I'm just trying to give them some more definition as well, now that the baubles and leaves have so much definition. I might just put some more here where this gap is. At this stage, you know, you're just playing, but it's the difference between something looking, although we're not doing realism, we still want an element of it looks like what it's supposed to look like. So that's what I'm going for here. Go into that pink a little bit. It's like a pinky red, and just do a few more little ones. Okay. Happy with that. So now I think let's have a go at just drawing, see, some leaf lines. Can you see that? And that kind of makes the difference between real and not so real. Let's see. Yeah, that one was the better one. You don't need to do all of them either. It just, if you do some of them and come in with that little bit of detail, I think it helps to give the overall impression of leaves. Just putting those veins in. I might even just get like a brown for some of them, because that's more natural. They're not all just green. Yeah, I like that. So, as I said before, I just kind of make it up as I go along to what I feel it needs by looking at the screen. Or what you can do, I'm only really looking at the screen because it's far away. You can just hold yours up in front of you and look that way. It's about just kind of stepping back from it and seeing where you need to go and where you haven't been. I'm going to swap back to the green for a bit. I don't want them all to be brown. So as you can see, that started to make the leaves come to life a bit as well now. You don't need to do all of them, but just go around. Even if you just do like the middle line on the majority of them, that will help to give it that little bit of definition. Now I'm just looking to see if there's any major gaps that I think need something. I think we're fine. So the next thing is, let's see if my jelly roll pen is working. I think so. What we want to come in and do, let's zoom in a bit more if we can without it getting too blurred on you. No. Oh. Yeah, that's the maximum it will do. So I'm literally just going in with a gel pen and I'm putting in some little white marks at the top where the light will be shining on those baubles. Again, it's just giving it that little bit of light. There we go. So can you see that's just giving it the feeling of light bouncing off it. Now if you wanted to as well, you could go in with a liner pen and you could line the whole thing, but I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do, I'm going to get like one of the really fine ones, that one. This is a 005 micron, and I am just going to come in and do some definition on the berries. It's not obvious, it's nice and subtle because the berries are small and the pen is fine, very fine, but it's enough just to help give it an overall, you can see the difference kind of already between them and them. So just come around. I'm not doing the whole berry, I'm just doing about half of it, so that it's not too pronounced and it's not like a perfect circle. So I'm just doing half circles around the berries, and then it just gives that definition. So don't be afraid to mix your mediums. I love just trying things out, mixing things up. I love to mix in pen with watercolour. It's my favourite kind of medium mix. I actually started off painting with acrylic paint, but I am fast becoming a watercolour lover, and a lot of my tutorials will be watercolour because I enjoy them. Although I do enjoy doing a nice detailed acrylic painting at times as well. Acrylic's really good for the projects where you've got lots of detail and you kind of want to be more real. But watercolour for me, I mean you can be, do realism, but watercolour for me is more sort of free. Okay, so hopefully that's brought the berries out a bit. Yeah, it has. It's made them a bit more prominent, hasn't it? And the leaves are more kind of in the background. So what I'm going to do on the cherries as well, on some of them, is on the really dark ones, I'm going to come in with some light on the top of the cherries. Because again, that will create value and it will give the impression that they're nice, shiny little berries. Cherries. One of those. And it can even just be a little dot. Just gives that impression of light hitting it and shining. You don't have to do all of them. Just do some, especially on the darker ones, to bring them back to life a little bit. So these jelly white pens are great for just coming in with that final highlight detail. There, they really have come to life, haven't they? So I hope you enjoyed that. What you can do as well, maybe where the darker side of the bauble is just come around with your pen. Just go around the bottom edge where it's darker. And that really then pushes them out of the page as well and defines them. And but just do it a little bit, just a little arch. You don't want to outline the whole thing. You just want to bring it to life with that little bit of very fine detail. If you have a fine liner. If you don't, it'll be fine without. It's just a little thing that I like to do. Coming round. Do all their bottoms. There. And you could do similar with the leaves, just to go over with some of the leaves with pen if you wanted to. You don't have to. I think I will do a few, but I'm not going to do many. And what I'm going to do is I'm just literally just going to do some lines here and there. I'm not going to outline them perfectly. I'm just drawing some little lines over some of the leaves. You could actually draw some of the line detail down the middle on those. So here again, look away from it because it will help you think, oh, I need a bit of definition there maybe, or I need some there, and then there's the none over there. So it helps. I'm actually going to just do a little bit down here because that's where I made that mistake at the beginning. Try and emphasize that a bit. So it's still like a watercolor piece, but it's become a little bit of mixed media as well. And it also kind of helps to define any areas that are a bit blotchy, where there isn't much going on. I'm going to leave it now because I could just go on and on and on and on forever. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to cover that bit up. We'll pretend I didn't smudge it with my hand. So I will be doing some more for the Christmas range coming very soon. And don't forget, you can join the channel for $2.99 a month. You get all of my downloads, which include step-by-steps and traceables, and bonus videos as well that you won't get on my normal YouTube channel. They're just for my members. So yes, you can do that. If not, please do subscribe, like, comment. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you liked about that. Let me know what you didn't like about that. I'm open to a bit of constructive criticism. I am a new channel, so yeah, I just want to hear from you, and I hope you have a really good day today, and I'll be back soon. Take care, everyone.